Okay, so it's 8 o'clock. Why don't we go ahead and get started? We do have a full agenda today. We're going to have Rebecca Garcia, the Director of Housing with the city, give us a presentation about a city affordable housing program and how it's aligned with economic development. And then we're going to have a discussion about the PBID with both Matt Mahood and with Brittany Sherman giving those presentations. Then we'll do a quick update from anybody else on the call, open space, planning commission, etc. So let's do a quick virtual introduction. I'm Rick Kent. I'm the chair of the Economic Development Committee of the Chamber of Commerce. So let's go around the table here. Nick, you want to start?
Oh, hi. Good morning, everyone. Nick Gage, CEO of Chamber of Commerce.
Joe?
Joe Muller, member of the Planning Commission.
Mario?
Mario Banuelos, chair of a small business training with the Rotary Club of Morgan Hill.
Armando?
Hi, chairman of the board, Morgan Hill Chamber of Commerce.
Steve?
Vice Chair, Morgan Hill Chamber of Commerce. Morning.
And Jane?
Jane Perryman, Commonwealth Central Credit Union, and Morgan Hill Kiwanis.
Alex?
Hi, Alex Kenneth, Open Space Authority.
Sully?
Brian Sullivan, Community Law Enforcement Foundation.
Matt?
Good morning, Matt Mahood, Economic Development Director, City of Morgan Hill.
Larry?
Hey, good morning. I'm Larry Carr. I serve on the board for the Chamber and I'm co-chair of the Economic Development Committee.
Rebecca?
Good morning, Rebecca Garcia, Housing Director for the city.
Jennifer?
Jennifer Carmen, Development Services Director for the city.
John?
Morning, everyone. John Hunter, Trustee, Morgan Hill Unified.
And John Varela?
Good morning, everybody. John Varela, former City Council member, mayor of the greatest city in the county, Morgan Hill, and current chair of Valley Water Board of Directors.
Steve Tate?
Steve Tate, retired guy.
And Eric Wallace?
Eric Wallace, I don't think he's just a retired guy, but that's my opinion. Downtown resident, downtown property owner, longtime resident, and fan of Steve Tate's.
And Lori Allen?
Good morning, Lori Allen with the Morgan Hill Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Since we do have a lot to cover, let's get started. And Rebecca, do you want to take the floor? I don't know if you want to share.
I do. That would be great.
So, Lori, if we could do that for Rebecca, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, Rebecca and Matt should both be able to share.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, can you see this presentation?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. I'll give you a brief overview of our Morgan Hill Housing Program. So everything in my division really covers the production of new housing inventory, trying to diversify our housing stock, the promotion of our housing programs. One of the things we learned through our housing element outreach process that we recently conducted over the past year was we need to do more outreach. We need to do more engagement with the community and you all as well, and let folks know about the different programs that we have and who qualifies, and really demystify what affordable housing is. So big focus on promotion of our housing program. And then we also focus on the preservation of our existing housing stock. That's something that Morgan Hill has done a really good job of for the past 40 plus years. The prevention of homelessness, and then really the quality of life, and trying to understand the different legislation that's been put upon us and working through the different obstacles. So production, promotion, preservation, prevention, and quality of life is really what the housing division focuses on. So I want to give you a quick overview of what is affordable housing, how to access that housing for yourself and for your employees, whether current or future, and then how you can support our unhoused residents or contact someone to support them. So affordable housing is really just income-based housing. It's for our residents, our youth, the aging population. I'm sure I do not have to tell you that people are getting priced out of the Bay Area, service providers, and really probably a lot of your workforce. I'm going to show you the incomes in a little bit, and it'll probably blow your mind of what is considered low income these days. So we have a local policy here in Morgan Hill. It's called an inclusionary housing ordinance. This was adopted after our residential development control system was suspended as a result of SB 330 legislation. So now we say if you're going to do residential development in Morgan Hill outside of downtown, 15% of your project has to be affordable. And if it's within the downtown, 10% of your project has to be affordable. A snapshot of our current portfolio for affordability right now, we have 1,780 total units today. Of that, 560 are below market rate ownership and 1,220 are affordable rentals. And I also just added mobile homes in there because that's definitely a source of affordability as well. So 839 of those. I want you to pay attention to the 560 BMR ownership units. That's how many we have today with families living in them, but we're about to grow that pretty quickly. The same for affordable rentals. Today, we currently have 1,220 with families and singles living in them. We are also about to grow that as well. Every 1 in 8 homes in Morgan Hill is deed restricted and considered affordable. That's a phenomenal accomplishment that I cannot take credit for. Actually, Steve Tate can take credit for that one. Larry Carr can take credit for that one. And anybody who's been on the council, I think over the past 40-ish years. So that was a great program, RDCS. One of the cool things was it really prioritized affordability among a lot of other great benefits. But here we are today without it for now, and lots of units in the pipeline. So how do you know if you qualify for income-based housing, or how would one of your employees know? So the first thing they want to ask themselves is how many people are in our household and what is our total gross household income? So for example, today in Santa Clara County, you're considered low income if you're a household of 1, single, and your income's about $92,000. That's technically low income. So a lot of the units that are getting built right now are low income units. And your low income, if you're 59,000, I'm sorry, very low income if you're 59,000, and then extremely low about 35,000, and then acutely low is a new category they added this year because they're realizing that there is a lot of people that aren't even at the extremely low income level. But if you're on Social Security or disability, those types of things fall into the acutely low income. So it goes acutely low, extremely low, very low, low, median, and then moderate. And for a family of 4, a moderate income is about $202,000. So again, what's your household size? And then what is your total household income? And then you just want to kind of look for the bucket that you're in. Obviously, these are high incomes anywhere else, but not enough to afford our housing prices. So when people come to us looking for housing, they're either looking for rental opportunities or ownership opportunities. Everybody always wants an ownership opportunity, but right now we don't have lower income ownership opportunities. That may change in the future, but for now, if you're in the low income and below categories, you're really looking at an apartment rental. And if you're in the moderate income category at the bottom, you're looking at our below market rate ownership opportunities. So right now, everybody who's looking for housing really has to be aggressive and persistent and use every single tool at their disposal, from social media, Facebook Marketplace, Nextdoor, friends, family. You have to tell everybody that you're looking for a place. You want to get a copy of our housing resource guide. I'm happy to provide that to you after this as well. But that's a list, a complete list of all of our affordable apartment communities and market rate as well. So you want to sign up to be on the wait list, which doesn't sound very promising, but I always encourage people, ask 2 questions. 1, do you have an available unit? And 2, do you have a wait list I can get on? And I highly recommend people get on the waiting list. It can go by in 6 months, 7 months, a year, and they definitely still need that affordability. Number 4 is really, really, really important, whether they're trying to get rental or ownership. We have an administrator who helps us tremendously oversee our below market rate portfolio. Not only when new units come online, but to refill them again as well. So creating an account at housekeys.org is really important for people searching for housing in Morgan Hill, especially the affordable housing. Creating an account is very simple. And the reason it's so important is because then you'll begin to get emails that say, hey, a below market rate rental unit is available, apply here. Below market rate ownership unit available, apply here. So really important, number 4, to create an account on the housekeys.org website. And then the 5th thing you can do is contact our housing coordinator, Christy Thomas, and just say, hey, Christy, can you let me know if you hear of any housing opportunities? We will add you to our list. And sometimes we get landlords and people who reach out to us and say, hey, we have a unit available. And when that happens, we will send it out to anybody who's ever asked us to. In addition to that, as a large number of units come online, we'll also make sure we let you know that way too. Okay, here's a little hope. We have 2,800 units in process. This is Jennifer's shop where they're looking at land use and zoning and all of that fun stuff and making sure that things are eligible for the entitlement process. So that's a lot of units considering we used to issue 215 building permits a year. But of that 2,800, not all of those are approved yet. I just kind of wanted to give you a sense of how busy we are these days. 1,800 of those are actually approved. And of that, 554 are affordable rental units that are approved that will be coming online within the next 18 to 20 months. 44 of them are ownership BMR homes that are approved and will be coming online within the next 24 months. By December of 2022, this December, we'll have exceeded each regional housing needs allocation category. And in case you don't know what that is, and I wouldn't blame you if you didn't, it's a very nerdy term. Basically, we get assigned a certain number of housing units that we are required to plan for, and even more so now actually produce over an 8-year period. So our last housing element cycle is about to end at the end of December for the past 8 years. And we'll have, if things go as we believe, we'll have met every single income category, which is quite an accomplishment. And there won't be many cities in the state of California that will have met that, especially the very low income goal, which we're super excited. We think we're going to exceed that goal. Plus, we have another 144 below market rate ownership and 23 below market rate rentals that are in the process, but not yet approved. So I say all that to give you hope that we do have a significant supply coming online. Okay, so how to access ownership opportunities. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but basically you want to go to housekeys.org. You want to attend an orientation. If it makes sense at some point for us to conduct an actual HouseKeys orientation with this group, we would be happy to do that, or to come to your place of employment, we'd be happy to do that. But essentially you want to go to housekeys.org, sign up, create an account, and you want to go to their events page and sign up for an orientation. That'll get you started. I will tell you it's a process. It takes time. It can take up to a couple years. Although I think that timeline might shrink because of how many units we have in the pipeline, but it's important for people to know it's a process, and you still have to have good credit and get a first mortgage and all of those things. And it's harder than buying a market rate home for sure, just because we have to income qualify you. And so I encourage people to be patient and persistent and to not give up, but to also be warned that it is a process to get into a below market rate home. And what is that? It's an affordable home at a moderate level. And then what the city will do is place a deed restriction on that property for 45 years. So you can always resell those below market rate homes. You're just required to sell them to the next income qualified family. And we help you do that. Okay, so I know sometimes homeless individuals impact local businesses for better or for worse. We're really grateful to have hired an unhoused specialist. This is not someone who sits at a desk in City Hall, a little bit, but not much. She's primarily out in the community, talking to our unhoused folks, building a relationship with them. His name is Brian Malikdam. He has a social work background, a mental health background. He's done great work since December. He's received over 100 referrals from residents and connected with about 98 of them, housed 10 of them, and then prevented homelessness for about 20 of them. So homelessness is incredibly complex. I'm happy to answer any questions on it, but this is kind of our newest thing. We actually have someone. So if you see someone who's homeless, or you're concerned, or you want to report an encampment, Brian will go out there, usually in real time, depending on how many referrals he gets in one day. And his goal is service and support, and to let them know and offer them a shelter bed. Our approach to encampments is, of course, we're always going to offer a shelter bed first and foremost and work with our county partners. If it's on public property, we don't allow folks to camp out. Private property, we that's up to the private property owners. But if it's public land, Brian is our first line of support that we send in to give them time to access a shelter. So you're always welcome to call him, text him, email him, and me as well. And we're happy to send somebody out there. We also have Christy Thomas, our housing coordinator. She's a wonderful resource. She knows about our down payment assistance programs that exist throughout the county, home repair programs, hot meals, legal services, rental assistance, eviction prevention, tenant landlord mediation. We're getting ready to host a grant webinar September 29th. This is for people to access a $40,000 program that this Cal HFA is putting out to help folks build accessory dwelling units. So that's kind of our next event. I'll make sure you all know about it, but it's a really good opportunity if you're interested in building an accessory dwelling unit. This is just what the House Keys website looks like. Morgan Hill's website is actually housekeys1.com. And again, this is where you go to access our ownership units or our rental units and to sign up for an orientation. And I will stop share there. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take them now or later.
We have a number of people with questions. So let's start with Alex.
There. So, great presentation, Rebecca. I hope to see it again soon.
You will. You will.
So my question is specifically aimed at school teachers or other public servants such as fire and police. Is there any housing specifically set aside for those to keep them in Morgan Hill?
Yeah. Currently, no. I would love to do some teacher housing and some firefighter housing. So it's in the back of my mind. But one of the things I didn't mention is we do have a live or work preference when you apply for a BMR ownership or rental unit. So you get more points through the lottery system if you either live or work in Morgan Hill. So they do have a leg up in that regard.
Thank you.
Okay, Marby.
Thank you. And Rebecca, just regarding the ADU grants program, because that comes, excuse me, comes up a lot, especially, you know, people who are looking for homes and are moving several generations of family into one unit.
Mm-hmm.
So when will that information come out? Can you give a little insight, you know, is there income requirements or just, you know, maybe a very top level look at what that's going to encompass, what's going to be available?
It's a $40,000 grant from Cal HFA. We're hosting a webinar with them and actually also in partnership with Guild Mortgage because they have experience with this particular loan. So we're super thrilled to have them. September 29th, 6. We're finalizing the flyer today. Yeah, no worries, September 29th. Yeah, so it's a program to encourage people to build accessory dwelling units, and they raised the income limits to moderate income limits. So these are going to be pretty high incomes that qualify for these. As well as low income, but I think they recognize that a lot of people who are going to build ADUs already have a home and probably higher incomes. And so we're really happy about that they expanded the income.
Yeah, because that was going to be my question is, that seems to be kind of the need, at least, we're seeing, or I'm seeing, I'm not going to speak for everybody, in the homeowner community, is it's people who probably have a bigger piece of land and maybe they have a bigger house, or just, a larger lot and wanting to do that. And I'm just hopeful that that's going to be, something that's available, because, as we're trying to expand, the housing stock here and to be able to accommodate a lot of things. Yeah, I'm just curious more, hopefully that's going to be available to.
Yeah, I'll make sure that I give you the details as soon as the flyer's done. I don't know if Jen, if you want to add anything about accessory dwelling units. We're definitely seeing an increase in people applying for ADUs, and it's a great way to increase our inventory for seniors, for adults, singles. I mean, so we really want to push anything that helps the community.
It's one of the biggest things I'm seeing, as I'm talking to a lot of buyers, that they want something with an ADU or something to be able to have a parent or parents be there with them.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing from the state is a constant update of different legislation to make ADU development more streamlined, easier, less fees, more ministerial. It's still a very expensive proposition. And I think that's why you're seeing so many people looking for houses with that already included. We are seeing not only what Rebecca just mentioned about the increase in ADUs, and most people think detached ADU, but we're also seeing the junior ADUs come forward quite a bit. And that is a very small unit, less than, I believe, 500 square feet, that is actually internal to the home, and functions slightly different, but it is something that we're seeing bundled with the ADU applications quite a bit.
Yeah.
And one of the things we're trying to do is share kind of what the impact fees may look like at the very beginning of the process when people start ADUs, because that is probably one of the more expensive things, right, Jen?
And we do think at some point, given the way the state has been in relation to housing development, we're expecting the next few years, they're probably going to strip fees to a certain point, whether it be impact or other. So
that would even help it along even further, obviously.
Okay, John Horner.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Well, I have two responses to questions other people asked, and then my own question. So first, on the educator housing piece, Rebecca, been meaning to get in touch with you to set up a meeting. Dr. Garcia, our superintendent, and I, in my board president role, recently had a Zoom meeting with the 2 county housing staff members to just get an understanding of what the lay of the land is on educator housing. And like with everything with housing, there's like 5 questions and 100 answers. It's crazy.
I know, we're very lucky that way.
Yeah, it's crazy complicated, but there are examples. I think Santa Clara in our region was one of the first school districts to pursue that nearly a decade ago. I can say we're not interested in what at least one of the private schools in San Jose has done, is to buy up older apartment complexes near their school and kick everybody out and then dedicate it to their staff, which I find infuriating. That's being, I got mine, but that's not being part of the solution. But it is something we're very interested in looking at. Our last attempt at a bond went down in flames. That's a whole nother discussion. So we don't have a lot of cash. Can we find bits of land under the school district's control that we might make part of the package? Maybe. Our big question there is we have declining number of students per household and an increasing number of households. And like for the last few years, our enrollment's been roughly even, but is there a point at which the housing development, particularly generally the lower income families have more children and are younger? So we just, making our facilities needs forecasts is I like to say my crystal ball is more like one of those snowballs, snow things that you just shake around. Anyhow, so that is something that we're looking at to see if we can be part of the solution. And then on the ADU part, our house is in the county. We have a Morgan Hill address, but outside the city limits. we're over a year into the process, and our first builder was one of these people that claimed they could do everything fast, and they couldn't. So we're now working with California Modulars. I'd encourage the city to get to know that company. They're based in Gilroy. They make their units there. They're doing a lot of at scale affordable housing developments in San Jose, but they're also making individual ADUs. And one of the things that was appealing is they're right down the road. If I have a problem, I can literally go find them. But happy to make introductions there. And then, so then my question, I appreciate that you mentioned mobile homes. I don't think that gets enough, so-called mobile homes, mobile home parks. I don't think that gets enough attention. It happens that I have a relative that moved to town a few years ago, was over 55 and qualified to buy in Woodland Estates, which is a pretty unique property in that it is owned by the residents. So there's not a third party company. And that was actually due to work the city did 20 or 30 years ago when that property was going to be sold off, but the city helped them, broker some loan agreements and whatnot. And I think it's frankly prejudice. There's like this trailer trash prejudice crap that goes on, but you can still, you can buy extremely nice units there for under $500,000. And because it's owned by a co-op, the fees are a few $100s a month, not over $1,000 a month. So I'd really encourage the city to look at that again, either preserving existing parks or heavens to Murgatroyd, what about some new ones? Tiny homes are all the rage. These are the original tiny homes. So I really would encourage you to up the ante on that. I know some of the cities like Montessorino, they're looking at that, or ADUs as a way to solve their requirements. But I guess the question is, are you looking at that more? The statement is, please do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Larry Carr.
Yeah, thank you. First, Rebecca, awesome work. I appreciate the conversation. I want to give kudos to both Brian's incredible work and Christy's incredible work, working hand in hand to, not only help provide services for people who need them, but to help some people not fall into the need of services, which we don't often think about, but is critically important in working on the unhoused issues before us. Quick question about our arena numbers. Super impressive that we've met our numbers. I agree with you. We're going to be in a very small handful of cities across California that has met all of its numbers. That's in relationship to the past 8 years, correct?
The past 8 years up until December of 2022. So
we're at the end of a cycle. So the past 8 years, we've done incredible work to meet those numbers. As we move forward, and if Jennifer can help in this answer, that'd be great too. As we move forward into the next cycle, do we get any kind of meeting those numbers is the right thing to do? It's the humane thing to do, and that's the reason to do that. But do we get any credit moving forward in this next RENA cycle because we were so good in the last RENA cycle?
Great question. I've asked it of the state. Miss Little asked me, she said, please call the state and ask them when she was here, and so the response was at the time, no, but think of the inverse effect. We're way behind in ELI and VLI production. He said, so no city could overproduce ELI or VLI at this point. But so it wasn't the answer we wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Jen,
so
is
we
that
get a nice pat on the back and thanks for doing the work for the rest of the state.
Yeah, but Jen, go for it. That's pretty much how it is still.
It's interesting because it's not even that, Larry. You talk to different people in HCD and they'll say, no, your RENA is your baseline and you should be going over that. So thank you for doing your baseline, but what can you do tomorrow?
Yeah.
One of the great things that, and Rebecca was talking about this, is we're in a great spot with our pipeline projects that are moving forward right now will enable us to meet the RENA in next cycle within the first few years.
Oh.
And once that's done, then we do get some, not credit per se, but we're exempt from certain laws like SB 35 and certain other ministerial functions that right now could be very burdensome if they hit the city. But once we made our arena, we do get a little more flexibility in what we can accept as far as what comes in as an application.
Does that flexibility, is it also defined as more local authority?
I wouldn't go so far as to say that. We would hope we can interpret it that way, but there are several new laws moving forward that continue the ministerial aspect of housing development, particularly AB 2011, that is on the governor's desk. And that is a conversion of commercial land to housing by right, if certain conditions are met. And so that, in that regard, local control is still a concern. But that is also something, local control is something that we're advocating for on a regular basis.
Can you talk a little bit about what SB 35 is and why we're hoping to someday not be exposed to it?
So SB 35 is a ministerial housing program where if a development comes in, meets certain conditions, they get an over-the-counter approval. We're not allowed to do CEQA. We're not allowed to force them into a public hearing. It is non-discretionary. And it's a major concern because if an SB 35 application comes forward and is within a half mile of our train platform, it's in all the terminology, it's called station, but we don't really have a station. And I'll argue that till I'm blue in the face with anybody from the state, that 3 trains a day in either direction is not a station. But we're subject to, they get extra height, they get extra density. And so those concerns with the fact, paired with the fact that we can't force hearings, we can't force CEQA, which is the big thing here is environmental review, is a major impact to the city. And we do have one application that is forming. It hasn't been submitted, but we do expect that to come in the next few months.
And that's the only SB 35 application we've ever seen.
This is an SB 35 is interesting because it has so many conditions on it. Cities oftentimes look at fire zones and flood zones as liabilities.
Yeah.
But in Morgan Hill, if we have a flood zone, an SB 35 application can't be put in on it. So it's like, oh no, it's a benefit for the city.
Yeah.
Where
And here we've been working for decades to get out of flood zones. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, one quick additional question, Rebecca, is our unhoused population in Morgan Hill growing?
I'm waiting any day to find out. We did the homeless census, and we do that every 2 years where we literally go out in the morning and count folks. And so we're waiting for those numbers. I'm hopeful that they have decreased even a little. I think Morgan Hill's been super proactive about it. A lot of small cities don't have someone building a relationship with homeless folks. So my long-winded answer is I hope so. And we're waiting for those results to come out any day for each city's numbers.
So it's critically important that we continue to resource things like Brian's position and support for the things that he is doing and that Christy are doing.
100%. And to your point, Larry, what I did not anticipate was the homeless prevention piece that he was going to be solving for. And it's been a big piece. So we got a grant to fund his position, but yes, we'll have to be looking about how to fund that position in a couple years.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And Rebecca,
thank you.
in the latest census, how many people were unhoused in Morgan Hill?
114 a couple years ago. So I'm hopeful, fingers crossed, I'm hoping they came out with the county-wide numbers, which did increase a little bit. But the county's also doing a lot of great work. It's just people become homeless as faster than you can house folks until we get, supply.
Rebecca, what year was that from, the 114?
You know what? Give me just a second. Let me look it up. I'll give you the past couple years. You want to take the next question?
Yeah, and Larry, did I cut you off on a question?
No, I'm fine. Thanks, Rick. I appreciate the answers and the great presentation this morning.
Okay, then Nick.
Thank you, Rex. I first wanted to thank Rebecca for the presentations. Stellar job as always. And I also want to acknowledge her and her team for the incredible work they're doing on a very complex problem that we have here in Morgan Hill. I also just wanted to alert the group that we actually, the Chamber did a 2-series podcast on affordable housing. So if you'd like to have a little bit more information and some details on that, just go to either Spotify or Amazon Prime and hit up Morgan Hill Chamber of Commerce, a quick 5 on the affordable housing podcast. The second of those podcasts, actually, Rebecca, Jennifer, and Matt did a wonderful job in actually connecting affordable housing to economic development. I think we covered about 4 major themes: business expansion, how it relates to recruitment and retention, developer initiatives, and then we talk a little bit about infrastructure and transportation needs that will actually have to parallel this process. So I just wanted to acknowledge the work that's being done, and also just give the audience an opportunity to go to our podcast and hear a little bit more detail as relates to affordable housing and economic development on our quick 5. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, so here's a quick snapshot of what our homeless counts have been from previous years. 61 people were counted in 2013, 81 people homeless in 2015, and then we had a huge jump in 2017. It went to 388, but that was because at the same time, I'm forgetting the name of the RV park, but the bridge, it rained a lot and the bridge was going to collapse. So they evacuated everybody and we had tons of RVs on the street. Larry, you may remember that. Steve may remember that. So in 2017, a really big number that concerned us tremendously. And then we started really like, okay, we got to prioritize ELI units and just being more proactive. And then the last count in 2019 was 114 people.
Maple Leaf at the south end of town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. John Varela.
Thank you. So I'd like to address the unhoused. So Valley Water has a committee. We call it the Environmental Creek Cleanup Committee, but it really is about the unhoused and the problem that is impacting our entire county. From what the last estimate that we've heard throughout the county was approximately 15,000 unhoused. We've been very fortunate in South County to not have that impact, at least Morgan Hill. When you go further south, you see it. You see it on the highways. You see the encampments living on the freeway. Mostly you see that in the city of Gilroy. They have a huge problem there. Now, when I say the creek cleanup, as you all are aware, the place of residence by choice by many is in our creeks and in our streams. And we do our environmental cleanups. We go in, we must do this to prevent flooding. We talked about flood control. That's part of our flood control project. And when we get into these creeks, we encounter many of the unhoused. Some of them are not so nice. When they release their pit bulls and come at you with their firearms, our staff retreats and we have to bring in the police. Now, we've not experienced so much of that again in South County, but it is a pervasive problem. Now, interestingly enough, with the problem growing, and it is increasingly growing in South County, and maybe not so much now in Morgan Hill, but it is a problem in South County. Our committee, we meet quarterly. We don't have people from South County attend our meetings, mostly from the cities in the north, because that's where it seems to be more impactful. I invite you, we meet quarterly. You can engage in the conversation, the issues. We're not police, we water managers. And that's something else, another conversation that we're going to have at some other point. The availability in the water supply that we're currently experiencing in the entire western half of the United States. As we talk about development, the questions I as a director constantly am asked, why are you allowing so much development when we are at a critical mass and availability of water in a shortage timeline? So these are questions that we're all going to have to think about, because these are questions that we're all going to be asked as we're moving forward. So I just wanted to raise some of those issues and questions and concerns that we deal with at Valley Water.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Varela. On the topic of South County, I'd be happy to join that meeting. I think the reason Morgan Hill is doing well is because we've been super proactive and intentional about our homeless work and very coordinated. we could talk a whole nother session about on the back end, how it works, matching people up to units, working with the county, partnering with them. We have very limited resources in Morgan Hill, but we've partnered with the county on so many fronts. So we'll save that for another day, but bottom line is it's incredibly coordinated and facilitated in Morgan Hill. Unfortunately, Gilroy's had a void and it's not there, right? I'm not there, my team's not there, nobody really is. They used to have someone years ago, but they haven't filled that role for quite some time. So we've been trying to create a South County regional response to homelessness. Things are different in Gilroy, so we're not giving up. And the politics are different, you know, and I think communities have two choices. They can build housing for homeless people and expect to see less tents or not see them at all, or they cannot and they can expect to see what it looks like in Gilroy. That's their choice, right? But they don't have anyone kind of combating really negative comments that either come from, you know, electeds or the community. And so when you have that void and that lack of leadership, I won't be surprised if the numbers increase because it's really, really intentional stuff. So anyhow, fingers crossed, we'll be able to coordinate a South County approach in the near future.
Well, congratulations for the work that you are doing and have done.
Thank you. I don't do it alone. Lots of partnerships.
The whole team.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Mario.
All right, Rebecca, great job. You and your team, great presentation. My question is, you know, for funding for the ADUs, does garage conversions, or are they included in the funding?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I think they just want to see ADUs built as long as they meet our zoning requirements, and garages, definitely that's happening, right, Jen? The junior ADU?
Well, it also an attached ADU is also allowed. One thing that laws have changed in the last few years is garage conversions don't have to replace the parking. So if you take up your 2 spaces or 1 space, uncovered in the front is fine. No.
All right, thanks.
Okay, looks like we have a follow-up question from John Horner.
Yeah, thank you all for all this dialogue. And I just have a comment on Gilroy. I don't want to get too political, but elections matter. There's a big election coming up in Gilroy, and for when you ask why didn't Gilroy ever have an RDA, well, it's had I'll just say it's been politically dominated by a very different point of view than what has been the dominant point of view in Morgan Hill. And without getting more obviously political about it, I mean, these things really matter. If you ask why there's not a staff person and effort in Gilroy on that, well, look to who has been on the city council there for a long time. When you ask when there were RDAs, why didn't they get a community center and all the other great things Morgan Hill built? It's because of who they elected. So if you live or donate or in any way active or in communication with our neighbor just a few miles to the south, this November is a big deal for these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I live in Gilroy, born and raised, so it pains me to see the homeless issue continue to get worse.
Okay, well, Rebecca, thank you very much for your presentation. It was fantastic. One question I do have is, there's a couple of developments. I think it's GemCorp and one across from the adult school. Where do those fall in these numbers? Are they rentals, affordable rentals? Or what?
Yeah, GemCorp is affordable rentals, primarily the low income and the very low income. So one of the things I'm trying to do is really rebrand affordable housing. The majority of it is workforce housing. Gilroy, Morgan Hill, you see apartments going up. Majority is workforce housing, with maybe 25% of it being, folks with disabling conditions or special needs housing or farm worker housing. So yeah, the GemCorp is low income and some very low income units. And what was the other one you mentioned?
Across from the adult school on Monterey.
Okay, First Community Housing Magnolia Project.
Yes.
That's actually going to be families who are at risk of homelessness or currently homeless, and 30 to 40 units of farm worker families.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other last questions for Rebecca? If not, let's move on to Matt and Brittany and talk about the PBID.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Great job, Rebecca. Awesome to have you as a teammate. You guys do a great job in housing. Let me do a quick screen share and talk to you about what's happening with the PBID process in Morgan Hill. So can everybody see that okay? I see heads nodding. Yes. That's good. Okay. So this is a quick presentation to give you an update on what's happening with the city's effort to create a property-based improvement district in downtown Morgan Hill. On March 2nd, the City Council approved the city manager to execute a consulting agreement with Civitas Advisors to form or explore the formation of a property-based improvement district in downtown. They also authorized the city manager at that time to sign the petition approving the process moving forward. This PBID concept has been in the Economic Development Blueprint, the 2017 Blueprint, action item number 21. That's also part of our COVID-19 Business Recovery Plan. So what is a PBID? It is a special assessment district that provides maintenance, public safety, beautification, and economic development above and beyond the city's basic levels, service levels. So this is all about providing enhanced service levels. The city cannot reduce the level of service it provides if a PBID is created. The city council can establish a PBID after the owners of the district indicate their support or lack of opposition for the PBID via the petition and the ballot, and I'll go through the process a little bit later. Assessments, property assessments are determined through an engineer's report, and then they're put together in a management district plan. The city ultimately, if the PBID district is approved, the city will contract with a nonprofit organization. Usually it's the owners association to administer and provide services. So they manage the PBID. And then that nonprofit provides an annual report to the city to use for accountability and decision-making moving forward. So there is a history of a PBID in downtown Morgan Hill. There was one established in 2006 and it ended in 2018. It supported many efforts in downtown: trash bins, recycle bins, new speaker system, flower baskets, flags, banners, marketing materials, benches, things of that nature. But the PBID was terminated in 2013 due to a lapse in the tax-exempt corporation status. It was just really candidly some poor administration of the PBID that caused it to fail. There are still $106,000 of the previous PBID funds remain available. So
Matt, sorry, can I stop you? At the bottom, there's like a give subtitles a try, little window that's popping up, and we're missing like the bottom half of the slide. Yeah, right there. Awesome. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Brittany. So today's focus of the PBID is to provide improvements, maintenance, and activities which constitute and convey a special benefit to the assessed parcels. Our focus in the PBID is really around clean and safe. And this is from the steering committee. So we have been convening a steering committee of key property owners for about 3 months. And their focus, they gave us direction on how to focus the PBID. And their goal is around 60% around clean and safe programs. So when you put together the budget, they're saying spend 60% of the money on clean and safe, 15% on capital improvements and art installations, 10% on marketing and special events, administration overhead 10%, and then you have a 5% contingency reserve. So this is within our engineer's report and our management district plan. This is how we're proposing to move forward with the budget. And then these are examples of that programming. And again, putting 60% of that funding towards clean and safe. So a lot of it would be around improving safety and security. And these are just examples of things that the PBID could potentially be doing. And again, the nonprofit board that manages the PBID would ultimately make these decisions. how the money is spent. But again, they have to keep it once they adopt the management district plan. They do need to keep the monies that they spend within the buckets of those within percentages of the management district plan. This is an example of the PBID boundary. On the north side, it's bordered by Main Street. On the west, Del Monte. On the south, East Dunn. And then on the east side, Butterfield. So you can see within the boundary. And then we did something a little bit different with the PBID this time, is we have main corridors, or what we call frontage, on Monterey, on 3rd Street and Depot, that those are really the main corridors that travel by, not just vehicles, but foot traffic. So those properties that are along those corridors are actually charged an increased assessment based on their frontage on those properties. So here's how the assessment works. If you're a commercial property, it's 10 cents square footage assessment on the size of the property, and then there's a linear frontage assessment of $5 a foot on the frontage, and then nonprofits are assessed 0.04, and then $2 on the frontage. It's important to note that we are not assessing multifamily or single family or vacant parcels. They are not included. So we are only assessing commercial properties within the district. That also includes all the city properties are recognized as commercial properties, and that's by law. So when you break down the total assessment of the district using that formula and the size of the parcels and where they sit, the city of Morgan Hill is the largest property owner in the downtown district at 47.75%. Their total annual assessment would be nearly $135,000. Santa Clara County, which has the courthouse and other offices over off of Butterfield and Diana, is the second largest property owner. They would have an assessment of $35,000 annually. And then the combined private property owners is 39.71% and $117,000 or $118,000. So the total assessment with the total district would be $288,000. This is about 4 times, nearly 5 times larger than the previous assessment that was done with the PBID previously. And this is done on purpose because if we're going to create a PBID, we actually want to have a PBID that has the ability to have some impact and have resources to spend. What this is important to note is with the city having such a significant investment is that the city wants to see a really good return. It's going to want to see a significant return on investment. And this type of partnership, it's really becomes a private-public partnership within this PBID. So you have the public sector working with the private sector to really focus on downtown. So there's really there's a lot of pieces that go into forming a district, but it ultimately comes down to kind of a 2-step process. And one is the petition process. So we go out and talk to property owners, commercial property owners, and are asking for their signature on a petition authorizing us to the city council to form a district, to have an intention to form the district. So we are in that process now, and we're out seeking property owners to sign a petition. They understand what their assessment level is, how much it would cost their property, and where the money would be spent generally. And they're approving us moving forward with that process to come back to the city council for the district formation. The second step in that process is once the city council approves the intention to form the district, then you go to the balloting process, and you actually have to get property owners to sign a ballot approving the management district plan and the formation of the district. And there's a little bit of difference between the two. Step one, you just need 50% of the property owners, of all the property owners, to approve moving forward. On step two, you just need a majority of those who respond to the ballot to approve the district. So you just need a majority of those who respond on the second step. Now, what's interesting in this first step of the petition process, the city or city staff has told the city council that we will not sign our petition on the city side until we exceed over 50% of the private sector property owners. So the city, because it holds such a large share, can very easily force the formation of the district, but we're waiting to make sure that we have at least 50% of the private property owners signing the petitions before we move forward with the city council. So these are just some assumptions. The city is providing seed money to fund the PBID formation, paying for that contract with Civitas. The city will get reimbursed once and over time once the PBID is formed. The PBID can help cover growing needs of downtown, sharing the cost with private property owners. Again, that private-public partnership. There will be a new nonprofit formed to manage the PBID. The city will withhold the petition and ballot support until a majority of private sector petitions are secured. I think I just spoke about that. And then our expectations, the new PBID group will direct the spending from the previous PBID assessments. So the next steps in the process today, we are in that petition gathering phase. We have commitments to receive over 50% of the private sector, private property owners' petitions back. We have those commitments. We're just in the process of getting them collected. We will go to City Council on September 28th, or it's our intention to go to the City Council on the 28th to have them approve a resolution of intention to form the district and a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign the ballot. And then on September 29th, we will mail ballots and we will notice a public hearing. We have to do that 45 days in advance of the public hearing and give a 45-day window to collect ballots. And we will return to City Council on November 16th for a public hearing and the resolution of the formation of the district, assuming we collect a majority of affirmative votes for the formation of the district, which I'm pretty sure we can achieve. And then the important part is January 2024 is when the assessment collection begins. So, even though it's 2022, we're forming the district in 2022. It's going to take a year in order to roll out the assessments, and we'll start in January of 2024. So businesses have, and the city have, a significant amount of time to prepare itself and prepare for the formation of the district. So just the last piece is, downtown, really, we want downtown. This is the vision statement for downtown and the downtown specific plan. It really want it to be the gathering place. It's the heart of the city. It's a place where all the community can live, work, meet, shop, dine, and participate in public celebrations and share in the richness of Morgan Hill's community life. So we really want Morgan Hill, downtown Morgan Hill, to be our living room, our dining room, and our family room. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Okay, Marby.
Yeah, just a really quick clarification, Matt. The city's assessment, or the assessments, are going to be added to the $106,000 that's already accumulated from the previous. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the $106,000 is sitting in an account, and when our expectation is when the new PBID is formed, the new nonprofit entity will then manage the $106,000, and it will use those funds towards the purpose that those funds were collected originally.
But what I'm asking is assessments that will be coming in are above and beyond the 106 that we currently have, correct?
Yes.
Just
Yes, it's a new assessment to the city of about $134,000 annually starting in 2024.
got it. Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, John Horner.
Good morning. Thank you, Matt. Great work. It's been a long time coming. I know in years gone by, Brittany and I knocked our head against this wall a number of times, so it's really exciting to see you carry it forward. I'm wondering who you imagine actually administering these funds. Has that been figured out or still to be determined?
So we're in the process of forming a new nonprofit. So it'll be the Downtown Morgan Hill Property-Based Improvement District. Brittany, I'll probably get the name wrong, but it's a new 501c6 to administer the funds, and the board would be made up of downtown property owners, a couple city representatives, because the city has a significant stake in the assessment. So the city's going to want a voice, and then we will have probably a community, a resident stakeholder, and a business stakeholder sitting on that board. And Brittany, by the way, I should recognize Brittany is doing a lot of the heavy lifting behind the scenes on the PBID formation and outreach to our businesses. So this is really, it's quite the team effort. So I think that answers your question, John.
Yeah, I'm wondering with a 10% administrative, cap, which I think makes sense. That implies you're not going to hire an executive director. Very different from the TBID, which is spending a goodly portion of its sums on an executive director, which I understand the why. But I'm just wondering who's gonna actually do the administrative tasks of the day-to-day as compared to the oversight of the board.
So I think you're looking at two of them. Brittany and I will probably be administering the PBID. The interesting timing of this is that both Brittany and I have significant experience running nonprofits.
Yeah.
And administering a nonprofit and we can work with our finance team to make sure that everything is managed appropriately, and that we have a nonprofit board that does the proper filing and does all those things correctly. You can, the way the budget works, it says 60% to clean and safe. You can dedicate a portion of admin within each of those buckets to cover administrative expenses. So there could be some professional help that is hired into the PBID, and then the overall admin of that cost could be associated to clean and safe or to marketing or things of that nature. But we have plenty of time to figure that out. But the board formation is very similar to the TBID.
Yeah, thank you. So Brittany will be doing a lot of work. She's well qualified for it, and I'm just, like I said, I'm really excited to see the forward progress on this. Thank you very much.
And thank you for the presentation, Matt. That was great. Any other questions for Matt?
Appreciate the opportunity. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. We're doing our outreach now. We have a downtown property owners meeting on September 19th to make sure that we're talking to all the property owners. And we really have significant support of the majority of the property owners, which is great.
And a couple of questions have popped up. So Larry Carr.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, Matt, what, if any, role do you see for the chamber?
I think to be a partner and to be an advocate for downtown. Mm-hmm. There are going to be opportunities to do new programming, new things in downtown, and I think there's an opportunity for the PBID to partner with the chamber to do that, and with the Downtown Association as well. There is a requirement that once the PBID is formed that we do actually generate additional income outside of just the assessment in the realm of about $30,000 a year. So we will be looking for partners to do things in downtown. This is not something that I think we want to just do alone. We want it to be a collaborative effort, working with the chamber, the Downtown Association, Visit Morgan Hill, and other partners as we look to do things in downtown.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and Nick.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rick. Actually, Larry asked the first question I had, so thank you, Larry, for beating me to the punch on that one. I appreciate that. Just really a couple quick questions. First, I'm looking forward to allow this process to continue. It's a very straightforward but disciplined process. So I'm encouraged by that. And I'm a big fan of trusting the process. So I'm looking forward to the next month, a month and a half as to start to continue. Certainly the Chamber will pledge our commitment to stay engaged and to be a collaborative partner as this progresses through the process. So you have that pledge from the Chamber as well. I just have a quick question, and I don't know if you can, I know you were meeting with the property owners and doing your due diligence with them. Can you share maybe some of just the common themes that you're hearing from the property owners as relates to the strength of the PBID versus some exposures? It'd just be good to get a feel for where they are as far as their mindset and kind of the direction they're going. And again, I'm not looking for specifics, but are there a couple key themes that are cropping up through your conversations that we should be aware of?
So that's a great question. I think there's a couple different pieces in there. And first is the biggest concern when we were meeting with the steering committee was the overall long-term safety and security of downtown. How do we really create a safe environment where people feel comfortable coming and spending time? And that was the overarching goal. And that's where there was a shift into about our second steering committee, where it all was like, we need to focus on safety and then on cleanliness. And that's really where the effort really wanted to go. Because you have a lot of things happen in downtown, and there's opportunities for things not to go right. So I think the property owners want a lot of focus on that. That was the key element of where they wanted the PBID to focus. The number one concern expressed in the formation of the district is most property owners will pass this cost on to their tenants because of triple net leases, right? So as you know, Nick, you and I had a conversation about how does Craft Roots feel about the formation of the PBID, because your landlord is, candidly, he told us, I'm going to pass it on to my tenants. And we had conversations, you and I had conversations. We've had lots of those conversations with landlords and tenants to make sure everybody's comfortable with absorbing a portion of that cost, or all of that cost as it's assessed. So from a property owner, that's their concern, right? Can my tenant afford to take on this assessment? That's the concern side. I think that addresses your question. I do also want to give a shout out to Mr. Eric Wallace, who is a downtown property owner and part of our steering committee, and the best looking man on the Zoom call today.
That he is. Thank you for sharing that, Matt. I appreciate that. And this has
Thank you
obviously
very much, Matt. I appreciate that.
Okay, any other questions for Matt? If not, I'd like to get a quick update from a few organizations as it relates to economic development. I guess the first thing would be, Matt, anything from the city as far as developments around Morgan Hill?
There's nothing happening. No, look, Eads in downtown, the Eads Gallery, they just put up their construction fence earlier this week. We're looking to do a formal groundbreaking, I think on the 22nd, I think.
September 22.
September 22. Thank you, Brittany. So that's really exciting. And then Jennifer, I'm going to put you on the spot since you've been on the call and talk about kind of where we are with Hotel Mohai, or the Granada Hotel, which is now the Hotel Mohai.
Sure. So we have an application in from the hotel to add a fifth story. And that is to accomplish the additional rooms that they need to, Matt, you could probably talk about why they need the rooms, but they have had conversations with City Council about needing additional rooms. The fifth floor will not be a full floor, and you won't be able to see it from Monterey. And so that is moving forward. They're doing a plan development in order to accomplish this. The downtown specific plan allows deviations from the plan via a plan development, or PD. And that application is moving forward. We expect to see it coming to Planning Commission and Council, I would say October, November But we're finishing up some documentation right now in order to move that forward. So.
Thanks, Jennifer. Those are the two big developments in downtown. Also, obviously, the lumberyard is moving forward with the Depot Street realignment. That's going to be area of construction for a long time. You have the roundabout on East Dunn and where the Hale extension. So East Dunn is still closed. Hopefully, I think that'll open up in another week. So there's lots of construction around town. And then, our planning department is being hit really hard with new projects coming forward, both industrial projects. We're hoping the Holiday Inn Express comes back with their formal submission this week or next. So trying to get these projects out of the ground. Later this month, Brittany and I are traveling to San Diego to attend ICSC, which is the retail conference. So our focus is to fill any vacant retail spaces in Morgan Hill and attract new retail commercial investment in Morgan Hill.
Great. Well, thank you, Matt. From the Planning Commission, Joe Mueller, do you have some updates?
Yeah, at the last Planning Commission meeting, we did some work on the inclusionary housing ordinance, which will simplify things a little bit, and that we don't have two processes or drop a process, only have one. And I believe we also covered a move to administrative approval for the concessions part, which is another streamlined method. What makes that one really important is in some cases, we're only allowed to have 5 public hearings. And that will eliminate one of the public hearings, which means we'll have more time for project input from the residents, because we'll have a possibility of an extra meeting if we get that far. So that's what we did at the last ones. Jennifer can probably correct me. I may be wrong, but I believe we're going to be reviewing a housing project at the next Planning Commission meeting.
Yes, we will. There's a 96 unit project at the family RV site. It's known as Monterey Curly. It's a de novo homes project, and that'll be coming forward. We also have a preliminary hearing for another housing entity who would like to use part of the Evergreen super block. And so what they're asking, they're bringing this preliminary application forward to just get comment at this time. They have not officially applied to modify the PD.
That's it from a Planning Commission standpoint.
Okay, thank you, Joe. From an open space, Alex, do you have a quick update?
Yeah, quick update. The most important thing that can happen every October is going to happen again in this town. The Open Space Authority owns 60 acres on the corner of Hale and Laguna, and we've leased it for 3 years to B&T Farms, and they're going to open a mega pumpkin patch with rides and all the stuff that we used to have in San Martin. So looking forward to that, bringing it back. Huge parking area, because we really expect, because it's going to draw more from San Jose than the previous one did, but it'll cover basically, I think it'll be almost the only one in South County. Matt, you mentioned something that there might be another one, or has that gone anywhere? No. Okay, so we're it. Other than that, we have a new preserve opening probably next spring, assuming everything goes well and we don't get rained out. Just off Bailey and Malik Road is what we're calling our Coyote Ridge Open Space Preserve. First phase of it, it's on the east side. And the first phase of what will eventually be a preserve with trails leading all the way to, from that area all the way to Lake Anderson. One of these days, assuming John lets us get that close, and he'll have water in it for us one of these days. So that's it from the Open Space Authority. We're also working close with the Farm Bureau about making some ag land more available and more affordable. You may or may not know that the Williamson Act is being challenged a little bit, and that's not a good thing for ag. The Williamson Act is a means for farmers to pay less tax on active ag land. It's way more complicated than that, but there's been a push to take some of those funds and for CAL FIRE, which is needed, but so is ag. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Any questions for Alex? Nope. Okay, how about the Water District and John Varela?
Sure. So this year in May, the Board of Directors approved, first time ever, a 2-year budget. And included in that budget was maintaining our water rate structure based on the 2015 through 2017 rate structure, which is one of the lowest rates in the entire state of California. Although cost of water has increased threefold since that timeline in May to today's rates, where at one point we were actually paying $300 to $400 an acre foot of water. Today, we're close to $2,000 an acre foot. Now, we're not passing those through to you. We are maintaining our rate structure. We are absorbing much of those costs. So that's our contribution to economic development. In addition, you've noticed some of the construction that's been going on in downtown with our Upper Yagas Creek Flood Protection Project, which is part of our flood control for the entire city of Morgan Hill. We completed phase, I think it's either phase 2 or 4, I'm not sure, in the southern part of the city off Watsonville Road. We included a restructuring of Lake Silvera. We've actually now included a turtle island where turtles are breeding there. It's really kind of cool. And we've installed with the city of Morgan Hill walking trails. So you could go and picnic. There are places to sit and watch the beauty of the region and the tremendous transformation that has occurred there over the past year in that vicinity. And it's also a major flood control project. So Valley Water is contributing that. And so as you know, we import 40 to 50% of our water from the Central Valley. That is water is controlled by the state and the federal government. As recently as a month ago, the federal government has released emergency water supply to the county, to the Valley Water, for drinking and health purposes only, not for landscaping, not for industrial use, etc. So when you see water in the percolation ponds and flowing through the creeks, that's what that water is all about. So that's a current update for you. And anytime you want to have the water director make a presentation to any of the organizations, let us know. We'll be happy to do that. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, John. And from the school district, John Horner.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this. We, on Tuesday night, approved using expanded learning opportunity program funds. So that's new state money to expand the educational opportunities for students. And how we're doing that has both near and long-term economic impact. We will be offering to every student in TK, which is basically a 4.5-year-old through 8th grade, opportunities for education and support from 6:30 in the morning till 6 p.m. in the evening at all 10 of our sites. So this is a big deal for families, and it has multiple parts. I see Brittany nodding her head. And there are some small existing programs like that, limited to a few sites. But this new program, if a child qualifies for free or reduced lunch, the fee is $0. If a child does not qualify for free or reduced lunch, the fee will be a maximum of $200 a month. So we believe, one, this will be very supportive to our working families. Brittany's doing a lot of this. I know it certainly will be helpful to her and to many others. So to the degree we support working families by making sure their children, have a great place to be, that helps with workers. But the big purpose is to make sure for these students, they have an opportunity for educational enrichment, for personal enrichment. So this isn't just daycare. We'll be doing this with a network of up to 9 third-party providers, including many that we work with now, like Boys and Girls Club and the YMCA and some others. And additionally, there are 4 community sites we will be funding, including major funding for Boys and Girls Club at El Toro Center, assuming that contract is worked out. And 3 of our, back to housing, 3 of our subsidized rental housing projects in town, Park Place, Jasmine Square, and Cochran Village. Those sites each have space to support about 40 students. So students that live there will get support. This came directly from Dr. Garcia's, coffee with the superintendent, cafecito efforts last year. This is what the parents there were saying. We really need support. So we're going to ramp up the support there as well. So we've allocated $3.1 million, which we have available because of this new state program. We have hopes the state will continue that funding. We all know how state budgets are, but this is a really big deal, I believe, in supporting our students and our families. The students will be better educated over time. They're the workers of tomorrow. So we're improving the skills and capability, and we're taking some cost burden off of the backs. I think, I mean, Brittany and others could say, I think right now the existing programs are $400 or $500 per month or more. So four for that Brittany's spending for Brant. So it's kind of an economic boost to people in this time of inflation. And for those that have nothing, I'm very proud of this. I'm very excited about it. I think it's a very, very big deal. And that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions about it. I put a link to the presentation in chat if you want to see the presentation from Tuesday's meeting.
Okay, thank you, John. Any questions? Okay, well, I want to thank the presenters today, Rebecca and Matt, and thank all the panelists and updates that we received. Good meeting, and thank you very much, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.